So tell me about the store, actually, and tell me about how you got involved in the store.
The store came about, I spent a lot of years working for a family business here in Fredonia for many years. And so I kind of became familiar with how retail worked. And it was a lot of fun, met a lot of great musicians and people. And then I left to play music full time, and then basically came in from doing that and was trying to figure out what to do for a career. So I decided to open a music shop. And the whole concept was to have a really small, quirky shop that you don't find everywhere, with a lot of gadgets, a lot of hard to find items, just things that would make the shop different than all the big box stores.
Well, the gadgets you see, like from my eye, being an old musician, you see it right away. That's different.
So,
you know?
And it's tough. You know, there's a ton of stores. There's obviously a big business model that works in music retail, and I'm just trying to, carve out a little bit of that's a little different.
Yeah, but then and the name plays itself into that.
Yeah,
really. It's a great
that was
name.
funny because I had all these, when you try to name something, like even your kids, I had all these great names and I'd share them and people would be like, oh, that's so stupid. Do not use that name. So I finally was like, well, I'm not going to tell anybody. I had all these great names and logos. I'm thinking of all my favorite like restaurants and shops in Buffalo, and a lot of them were kind of based off of those things. And day by day, my wife would come in and say, like, what are you working on? I'd be like, oh, just things for the cool little music shop. I just started calling it that.
Oh, okay.
And when people would say, like, what's your plan? I'm like,
Sure.
oh, I'm going to have a cool little music shop. So finally, Laura was like, my wife, she was like, that's your name, cool little music shop.
Isn't that funny, though? Because I find so cool little music shop was just like...
Yeah, it just fit.
It did.
And it was really, I was across the street for 7 years, other than this location. And it was the size of a shoebox. I mean, it was really little. I used every... floor to ceiling,
Sure.
it was crazy.
Master efficiency.
Yeah, people would come in and just be like stunned. How do you fit so much? And that actually was part of the whole quirky aspect of the shop.
But, it's still small enough here where you could call it that.
Yeah,
yeah. But you can't grow.
Right. No, it actually got to the point where the size of the shop began to actually affect the business. We had to grow. We needed more space.
Where are you gonna go? You can't. There's only so much.
But it was a great way to get started.
Sure.
It just like something like this rack of keyboards though would have taken up
Yeah, exactly.
too much real estate.
Yeah, it almost hurts. Right. You want to almost put them vertically.
And you couldn't store things properly.
Sure.
It was tough.
So now, how you quit your job? What was the time frame between the job and the first store?
I had a chunk of time. I stayed at home with my son while he was really young, and I had a lot of time to plan.
Awesome. So it wasn't just like blitzkrieg into the shop and we'll figure it out as we go. You had a little bit of foresight and forethought on this and worked it out to a degree.
So the first thing I did, though, is I knew that I wanted to focus and sell, we have quite a few of them here, but boutique guitar effect pedals. So I hopped online and I scoured and I found some really cool collectible pedals. And
but that's an awesome market to delve into.
Yeah, and since I love keyboards, I just always will. And growing up, it was hard to acquire. In my age at the time, these were big. They were just not obtainable. They were just crazy expensive as a kid. So everybody did what you could do, and so I love the fact now that there's a lot of vintage gear that still can be quite expensive, but there's so many great new products that are. And I just love the gear. A big part of I think sales is I get excited about showing a piece of gear because I like the gear. It isn't because I want to sell it to you. Obviously I need to.
You're passionate about it, right? Yes, make a living.
To stay open, I need to. But I just love, and I the same way when I go shopping. Like when I'm looking at something, if somebody walks up to me and they understand the piece of gear and they love it, I get excited. And that's how keyboards are to me. So primarily, I wanted the shop to be a synth shop, which is tricky because I'm in an area where that you have to find that balance between.
You're not in an urban center, but being in the college, they have a great music program there too.
Certainly.
So that benefits you to a degree too. So
it's just trying to find that daily balance, and luckily I get a lot of touring bands that just happen to, actually I bump into a lot of people at Tops out right off the thruway.
But you mean touring bands?
They just stopped.
Because they're there just getting whatever, and
I've met some really cool people. That and the private studio just outside of town.
Right.
So that's where having a lot of the odd things.
But I mean, the fact that you are in this funky college town. You know, and you have it. There is a scene here. There's a music scene here to a degree, right? I mean, Fredonia is.
Oh yeah.
You know,
it goes through cycles, but it's
right.
Pretty
but
good
it's always
right
because I think the nature of a college town is just given that.
Like for example, though, I had a fellow walk in. You know, he looked like a musician. This had nothing to do with. He was just on the road.
Right.
And he's a guitar player for George Thorogood.
Really.
He was just in the shop. You know, and he wouldn't tell me anything, and he was in long enough that I finally, recognized. He would start to answer. Yeah. And then he's like, well, I'm just on tour. I have some time off. And I'm like, well, what do you play with? And I just saw him. There's a Sammy Hagar show where he does all this stuff with other rockers.
Really?
And I just saw him on TV. His name is Jim Shore.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Well, do you find, too, when I was in a band and we were on the road, you kill your time by going into these places.
Yeah, it's great.
Because you never know what you're going to find in a small town, small music shop.
Yep.
There's gold here, you know?
Yeah, and there's people, I mean, I should get it back out. I have a guest book that I had, and I've got people from all over the planet.
Right, well, I mean, but like, you know, we talked when we first met about my JX3P, and you got a JX8P there, and, you know, that type of stuff. Like, to actually, it's not online, it's like right here, I could touch it. You even have the controller. So, it's that type of shop, where these shops, I grew up, we talked about this too, like growing up in a small town with a small music shop is so awesome. You know, it is. Yes. And I love that these are like, you know, like small shops have like this quirky stuff that you just don't see in the big box stores or the bigger stores. It's almost like at some point, even a mom and pop really large store gets into more commoditization than like curating.
That's really tough.
You know? Yeah, but you're curating. I mean,
I have that fight every day in my head. You know?
Sure, do I curate or do I commoditize? Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's...
Because you're so passionate about the gear, you know, and the pedal technology and the technology that goes into these awesome keyboards now, it's about the same, really, at this point, you know, with the chips and how they integrate everything and what you can do with them. Like a small pedal now is like its own entity, you know.
And it's great, too. Everything old is it's all back.
Sure.
It's all back.
You left your job, you worked on figuring out how you're going to get into a music shop, and you found the one across the street, and you were there for how long?
And you know what's great? We were there for 7 years, and what's really funny is when I finally decided to do a music shop, the building that we're in right now, anytime I would describe what kind of building I wanted to have my shop in, I would reference this building. Because of the wood floors and the big windows and the brick walls, and I just, you know, I wanted like a loft
really
kind of vibe.
Right.
Oh, I loved this building, you know, and at the time, it gets tricky, you know, with real estate. The only thing that was open were Big Plaza. Okay. You know, we'll divide to suit, but we're talking crazy money and time.
And obligation.
So then I'm like, wow, I finally chose to do this. And you have to line up certain vendors. You have to,
even moving over here to a bigger selection.
But then became the issue of there's no storefront. What are we going to do?
Right.
So then I did locate right across the street. There was a little, on the end of the building, a little unkept, really cool, but really tiny space, and it became we need to take this because I don't have a space.
Right.
But it all fit, you know, the name and the size of the shop and the ability to, you know, when you're first starting up, I shouldn't say this, we never did a proper channel like a business loan. We never did, we did this all on our own. I bought gear, sold it, took that money, bought more gear, sold it, took more, and we grew it that way.
Dude, but that's great. I love that. But, you know, a lot of businesses that I interview also do that.
Yeah, I think a big was the fear of the unknown. I still have that fear.
Sure.
Because what I should probably do is do a proper, go get a line of credit and blow
it out
place
and
wide
really
open.
Go deep, right?
But it's, you know, you owe. I mean, you owe as it is. You owe, you know.
Yeah.
It's a lot of Roland, a lot of Yamaha.
Okay.
A lot of Moog.
Yeah.
It just depends. It's constantly
changing.
You
have some guitars.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
And then we do Critter and Guitari, another killer company out of Brooklyn, New York. A lot of handmade boutique, really neat things like their organelle. They make video scopes, neat things like that. We do some Pittsburgh modular.
And we'll do that on our walkthrough. But that type of stuff, dude, that when we were kids, you wouldn't even dream that somebody would be making stuff like that now, right?
Oh yeah,
You know.
that's a whole nother
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Did you ever see Danger Mouse's studio?
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, and it's all in, you know, really. I mean, push comes to shove, that guy's in the hole all the time. That's all he cares about. You know?
The modular, I would really like to get into it. That is a whole nother world. There are some key shops, you know, scattered throughout the U.S.
Sure.
Not a lot, but that really specialize in that. And
Sure.
That's one of the things that I do know there is a bit of a market for it. But we're at the point now where there are so many vendors, so many modules that what do you stock? What do you do?
And how many years ago now are we talking? How long in total have you been in business?
10 and a half.
10 and a half years.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you celebrated your 10th, of course, in good fashion, or no?
Not like you would think.
No? Oh, it's a milestone.
I have a lot of good ideas, I guess. But
The 5 and the 10. So hours, what are your hours?
Weekdays 10 to 5, which I know is tricky. I try to be really open, though. Our phone number is my cell. I meet people here
That's great.
all hours of the day when I can.
Okay.
We have a really strong social media presence, Facebook and Instagram. Everything is all under Cool Little Music Shop. Also a shopping cart website, an e-commerce site, which is coollittlemusicshop.com. So I do know, I keep the same hours that most people at work
Right.
do, and I'm aware of that.
Right. But you'll accommodate.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you have the presence online, so.
And actually, I'm typically here more than that, prior and after hours.
Okay.
So
Which is good. I mean, you're making do with what you have. You know what I mean?
On the most of my customers, though, I got to say in general, almost everybody's usually pretty cool,
Yeah.
pretty chill.
No, dude, it's awesome,
and
though.
they get what you're doing.
Yeah.
So. And I try to make it clear. Some people are like, well, I didn't want to bother you. I'm like, that's the whole point of the phone number. Just message me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's cases
I get
where,
that.
I have friends that go to a gig and say, oh my gosh, I forgot to stop in and get my strings. I'll bring them home and drop them in my mailbox so
That's
they can
nice.
grab them. They're just things like that,
Yeah. And that touch is unheard of nowadays.
So, well, I'm guessing there's a lot that I don't hear of, probably.
Right.
But in most cases,
Right.
But it's something I always think about, the hours and maybe having
Sure.
help.
Now you do events too occasionally. You dance in here, and
we do. The whole idea of that is, we have Fredonia School of Music here. We have so many great musicians here in town. We have amazing local musicians that play every weekend here. Just the amount of music in Fredonia is incredible. And what I wanted to do is, we have plenty of venues, plenty of open mic nights. A lot's happening. We're on a really good upswing right now with music in Fredonia. I wanted to have a music series here that was for the working musician. So in other words, like if you play every Friday and Saturday night, maybe on a Thursday night, if something really cool came to town, you could swing in to the shop for a half hour and catch something that you wouldn't normally see somewhere else. So I was trying to create a music series that was just different. I'm not an open mic night. I'm not a jam.
Sure.
I'm not a venue. I'm a music shop.
Yeah.
It's small.
Yeah. It's an occasion.
So I've had.
So now these, what are we looking at here?
A little bit of a mix of some Death by Audio, a company out of Brooklyn, New York. Really crazy pedals, all sorts of pretty heavy-duty sounds.
How do you decide what to bring in here? Do they recommend, or is it just you
with those guys, we try to do the whole line when I can.
Awesome.
So pretty much everything they make. We're a few pedals shy at the moment, and then we've got a beautiful old TC electronic chorus pedal, which is really amazing, and some Electro Faustus, which is another company here in the U.S. That was interesting too. In the old shop, I realized that almost 3/4 of our inventory was all made in the USA. So it's
a big deal.
There's some really cool companies that have sprung up.
Well, again, it's accessibility with the internet. And then you have some guitars, so we have some.
I do.
Yep.
Yeah, we're actually going through some changes here. We just got some new signage in the front windows. So this is actually the area where we do our performances. And I have the shop sign from the original building that's going to go up here on the wall. This was a ukulele wall. Guitars, we just do a lot of used consignment. Every once in a while, though, we get some pretty great pieces that come in. Pretty collectible. Accessories in the shop are huge. Cable-wise, we do Hose, I do some Whirlwind, Proco, PV, Audio-Technica. It depends. So I try to have the everyday connectors, though you could...
The things that you need when you're home and you're like, crap.
Yep, power supplies. We try to keep a good stock of those on hand. Power distribution. Have them out, but we do stock Shure SM57 58s, Beta series, and then Shure pretty much is one day away. But mic-wise, I have to keep 57s here, 58s here. They're just tried and true, been around forever.
The standards, right?
And then what's crazy though is you can now today, I know people will argue with this, but you can spend $30 and get a really good, like let's say you've got a rehearsal space and your band wants to jam and you need good mics. Mm-hmm. You can actually go out now and spend $30 and the microphones are fine.
I know.
They're fine. Do you want to compare them to a higher end mic? No. But you want to turn them on, have them work, and have them allow you to sing and rehearse? They work great. Where I see the price reflect, there's certain, like in the synth world, there's certain pieces of gear that, it's just how they're built. From the ground up, they're built a certain way. And I think what we're going to see is we're kind of in the whole world of disposable products to a degree. And I think some of the gear, I will, pretty much say that you do get what you pay for, and there's a longevity factor to that gear.
That would be the differentiator between some of this. Yeah,
but you got to look at it in terms of
cost effectiveness, and time. And
you can walk out today and spend $300 and get a 100% analog signal path synthesizer today. That's unreal. Now, will that last for 30 years? Will
no, probably not.
But you have to weigh those things out. Same with those, $30 microphones. Will they hold up for the same length of a 58? Probably not.
Right.
I have customers that still are using 58s from the 80s. They just...
Yeah. I had mine for 20-some years. They don't break. Yeah, they fell downstairs.
And then if they do, the company's there to either, they offer a ridiculous, for a small fee, we will basically replace the whole caps. You're getting a whole new mic, basically.
Right. Yeah, mine was crushed when they did. Now, these awesome retro synths, these are all obviously used. But they have to be.
We're looking at mid-80s for most of these here. Analog, pretty collectible. And anybody that is going to see this has actually heard these on recordings and some pretty big hit songs.
This is what we all know and love as musicians and as a... music-loving society, but people don't realize how the DX7 was on every hit chart song for 20 years.
From Aha to Whitney Houston to all those radio hits. Well, here's a great example of in today's world, you can let's say you don't want to go down that vintage avenue of finding a synth and maybe what you've seen you think you can't afford or just can't afford. Here's a brand new piece from Arturia. This is a 100% analog synthesizer. What's really cool about this, I killed this because of that line buzz we had. So we'll get a little bit of that back. So what's really cool is we're dealing with a 100% analog synthesizer for under $500.
Wow.
It works just like the old school. It's not programmable. What you do on the panel.
Nice.
I have a little sequence playing, but so it's a full-blown, brand new analog. You're dealing with a piece of gear too that's going to be much more stable, super reliable, and just as fun as a late 70s, early 80s.
And that's the sound we all know and love.
So to me that's just a great. Plus, it's a great looking.
It's
piece
beautiful.
Of gear.
And it's small.
And then below it we have this is an older Korg workstation, which gives you great synth sounds. Also gives you great real sounds, but you can actually compose a 16-track piece of music with this tiny little guy. This is no longer made. Another really cool used piece, though, in incredible condition. But this is a piece of gear that without a laptop, without any other gear, this plugged in, even with a pair of headphones, you could compose a complete piece of music.
That's the beauty of these, and I think
it's just really powerful.
Well, that's the appreciation too. Turning on a laptop, loading up the software, popping everything in. It's to be able to just have a keyboard and just be able to play the tactile.
So right now we have a piano and If we go to some other choices, we have. Here's a really. There we go. So we have a Wurlitzer piano with a bass. It's like a preset portable keyboard, but with professional sounds. So just a lot of fun.
Dude, where is Charlie Brown? That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was totally a 60s Charlie Brown cartoon going on in my head.
But what's neat is you can take those ideas. So for anybody writing, it's a really cool tool. You can take those ideas and then put them into the song sequence.
I love it.
And then, finish your whole composition.
Sure. And that's the whole point of these. It's self-contained. I can write.
We have really cool.
Nice drum machine there.
Yeah, old school sound.
Well, 808 going on there.
Programmable. This is a really cool synth. This is actually a very modern virtual analog synthesizer that emulates old synths. And they do this really cool thing where they offer software packages online, and you can actually hook this up to your computer. You can actually
you load in a different.
You can load a completely different synth in, and then remove this from the computer and take it with you. They call it a plug-out system. Yeah, it's just really, it's basically an open-ended system to have different synthesizers, but keep that one piece of gear.
Right.
And to work away from the computer.
Oh, dude, I love that.
So pretty cool.
Actually, that's really cool. Right.
And then we have some older. This is a late 70s Micro Moog. This is one of my favorite things in the shop right now. And in fact, you can see right on the back of it, it says, where is the tag?
Oh,
it says made in Williamsville.
Right, yep. Yeah, right there. It's right underneath the G.
So beautiful, isn't it?
Oh, I turned off my phone like a dummy. Hold on.
Look at that, made in Williamsville, New York.
That was a big deal when we were kids, man. Right, to see the little tag, because you knew this was used on like some of the most awesome records of that era.
And this is where we would go up to the Eastern Hills Mall, and I would say, Dad, can you just drive me that extra 10 minutes and we'll go look at it? We would just stand there and look at it, and I'm like, such a nerd.
Dude, well, yeah, but man, that's a big deal, sure.
No, well, relatively new, I guess, in the synth world, but they've been around for a little while now. They make a lot of great products, based in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Really great guys.
I love that people are doing this now.
You can see here, though, like if you were to look at a hardware synth, basically we're looking at modules.
Right.
They're pre-assembled in this particular case.
Each one.
And you can actually see, so for instance, here's oscillator 1, whereas on a synth, you're basically, your sweep is left to right. Mm-hmm. But oscillator 1, oscillator 2, you can see your filter section here, your output section. So it is just like working with a hardware synth. The difference is, like if you're going the module route on your own, you pick and choose which modules you want to use. So unlike a hardware synth, you're stuck with, what is hardwired there.
Right.
On a modular, you're not. And that's what's so powerful about them.
Well, and like you said, I mean, it's one of those things that you just have to play with it until you get your mix right?
But I do find it, for a novice or for somebody that just doesn't have, number one, the time that you can lose in a modular world or the funds, I think it's pretty cool when they do make these pre-made kits. Amazing piece of, this was pretty much your computer prior to taking a computer out. So all of your sequencing stored on a song stored on a floppy drive.
Wow.
Yeah, I love seeing things like this though, and obviously it's a little yellowed over the years, but
good Lord, dude, I had what was the
prior to what we use now for computers for sequencing MIDI data, you would just hook up your keyboard through a MIDI cable. Whatever you played into it would record it, and then it would play it back.
It's awesome.
But the power that was in it, microscope editing. So just like you can do on your Mac or PC now, you could dial into a specific note and fix it, a velocity.
Do you remember doing Oh my God.
But these are actual D50,
Good Lord. What an awesome idea.
Oh, horrible playing. 4-voice, totally programmable, sequencer. What you're hearing is there is a little tiny speaker. Right under this cable here, there's a speaker. This is the ribbon cable to hook up this keyboard to it, and it can run on batteries, which we are right now. but it is MIDI controllable. It also works as a micro USB interface to a computer.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you can
utilize the guts.
Yeah, yeah. But in a nutshell, if you had a D50 years ago and had sold it like all of us did, regrettably, this is the engine that was a D50.
I'm gonna be looking that up later.
Yeah, what's really interesting though is, I mean, you're hearing that through that little speaker when you hear this in either headphones or a real PA.
Oh, I know, yeah. And this is the phenol here you have.
Yeah, Canadian company, true modular piece. A lot of this new semi-modular gear that comes out right now, like I was explaining with the Pittsburgh modular, like the Lifeforms SV1 that I use, there is nothing pre-wired in that, so when you power it up, it makes no sound. It's up to you to, continue that circuit.
Yeah.
So it's a true modular, really
Love
interesting
it.
piece.
That's really cool. But dude, that's why this.
Really, really cool.
Do you have a Holy Grail? Yes, you do. This is yours, right?
Well, possibly. Right now it's the shop's.
Where did you find it?
But we've been keeping, and this is a reissue. But the interesting thing about the reissue is it's made to exact spec of the original Model D. So
does it go to 11?
So we're dealing with maybe a little bit more stable of a synth, but it basically is a Model D. These were a short run a couple of years ago, no longer made. And
that's the whole point, though.
Just
to put
incredible.
them out, just to dip their toes on it. And...
Just incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, we try to do the daily accessories that everybody could possibly need. There again, there's
always
you'll never have everything, but,
right? But you need some strings. You need a capo. Got capos, I assume.
Yep.
Cleaners.
Capos, polish picks.
I see we've got our horn.
Yep. I do a great deal of ordering too. We order once or twice a week.
Nice.
Well, you have to have some of the staples though. Tuners, metronomes.
They still make fast fret.
They do. That's still a great product.
It works.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's great.
If anything, we live in an area where weather is extreme on wood, and
Do you know what? It brings me back.
and then cables and.
Oh, you've got a bridge. That's good. See a guitar bridge up there. You got a Grover. Dude, you got some good stuff in here, actually. No, it's just nice, man. This is what you need. It's I'm out down at the local music shop. Got it. I'm home. Done.
Well, that's where I probably will change how I stock some of these accessories soon. I mean, these are the minimal everyday things that 9 out of 10 people that walk in a pinch need. But I would like to do more in the cable area and.
Sure. Dude, you just got enough.
Yeah, that's my in a pinch drum head stock.
Yeah, you got in a pinch sticks. No, dude, it's a really nice thing to have, man. You have a really cool selection of this really great funky gear and this really cool pedals and boards.